Time for focus. Now, France abolished compulsory military service 20 years ago, but it could be restored by the winner of Sunday's presidential runoff. Emmanuel Macron wants to make young people serve 1 month in the armed forces between the ages of 18 and 21. Marine Le Pen proposes progressively reintroducing compulsory military service, starting with a 3-month commitment. Right now, there's a volunteer military service for marginalised youths. Jonathan Walsh and Jessica Sestili report.
Marching with fervour and precision. Strict steps that they've mastered relatively well, apart from a few stragglers and some rather unique uniform pieces.
There's still work to be done, but I'm quite satisfied with the majority of them. We can't ask the same of them as when we were in the army. They're young. They're not here to be trained as soldiers. They're not going into combat or anything. We're just giving them a basis.
That's the idea behind France's voluntary military service. A somewhat deceiving name, they're not your average volunteers, plus they'll never carry a weapon. Instead, it aims to improve their professional integration. Aged between 18 and 25 years old, many of those enrolled are underqualified.
I was unemployed, so for me it was a way to get into a routine again, getting up in the morning, and a military rigour which looks good to employers. When we leave the army, the boss will see that, and you'll think, this guy's serious.
Created in 2015, the service can last from 6 to 12 months and ends with an internship. On the menu, school support, a driver's licence and first aid training, topped off with army discipline and life in the barracks. And for many here, it's a way of learning one's civic duties.
Hearing everything regarding terrorist attacks and Muslims, I was a bit anti-France. By coming here, I learnt that no, actually we're all the same. Liberty, equality, fraternity, Muslims, Christians, atheists, we're all here. So we learn to live together.
The most enthusiastic of them believe that national service should be brought back. It was wiped from programmes 20 years ago.
For me, compulsory military service is a good idea, involving all young people, straightening them out so they got more than just their private lives. And then there's weapon use, which can be a good experience for everyone, and mud crawling and everything. It's a good thing.
But there won't be any boot camp training today. Instead, the trainees are tidying up a war cemetery that's near the centre.
It's a kind of tribute to them because they died for us, so doing this doesn't bother me.
Only 1,000 young people have benefited from the programme since 2015. 3 out of 4 of them found a job upon leaving.
These young people came here 3 months ago. Comparing who they were back then and who they are today, they're completely different. They've grown up, matured, changed, and I believe in the Army's ability to change people, to make them love their country, their nationality. It's sort of glue for society.
A social role that's getting popular. According to a recent survey, 74% of French people want to bring back the compulsory service, and the voluntary one is still in its early stages.
With the experimental phase set to end in 2018, this project could be extended or even altered. But let me say this again, that decision will be made by the next political authority, maybe over the next few months.
France's 2 presidential finalists want to bring back and adapt the nation's military service to today's societal needs. With a shorter serving period that's more focused on civic duties, the measure would come with a price tag of some €3 billion a year.
For more on this, I'm now joined by Sébastien Jakubowski. He teaches sociology of organisations and institutions at ESPE in the northern French city of Lille. Hello, thank you very much indeed for your time. So what do you make then of François Hollande's volunteer military service?
Thank you very much to have invited me. I think that the voluntary military service has another goal, which is to form people to citizenship and employment. That is another goal that the military service. But it was an experimentation, and I think that it cannot be generalized. In fact, in a certain way, the voluntary military service is a misappropriation of the national service. The role of the army is not to do what school is unable to do. The first function of the military service is to protect the national territory and our republican values. But now the world has changed and the armies are now professionalized. So the French armies are again abroad and the military service could not subscribe the actual strategy of the armies. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm against the restoration of the military service. The military service in France was deeply socially not equal. 50% of young men didn't do their national service in the middle of the 90s. So the only interest of this restoration would be eventually to form people to use weapons. Some countries like Swiss, Israel, and so Sweden made this choice to fight against terrorism.
What should France be doing then to better defend itself?
Thank you. Could you repeat, please?
I'm saying that if you don't agree with proposals on reviving compulsory military service, what do you suggest that the next president do in terms of better protecting France?
The two candidates, Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen, propose the restoration of a universal military service. But I don't think this is a good idea. I think that the restoration of the military service is not good, a good thing for our army, not a good thing for our public finances and for our public opinion. I think that we have to engage military forces in the reserve, not by the military service, to fight against terrorism and to prevent terrorist attack in France.
What about, though, bringing people together? I mean, Emmanuel Macron has said that by reintroducing compulsory military service, it would allow our democracy to be more united and increase the resilience of our society. I mean, I know you mentioned before that it's not the army's job to educate people, but does it not play a positive role in terms of integration and making people feel a sense of togetherness?
Yes. I think that the military service was useful in the 19th century and in the beginning of the Third Republic, but now it would not be the case. I think that the main problem that we are confronted in France now is that we have lost our social and national identity. That's why the politicians propose to reintroduce the military service to develop a new sense of belonging. We need in France to imagine a new way to build our common. Our common is very important. It means that we should have an idea that what we have in common and what we want in the future in France. And the recent terrorist attacks in France have reinforced the debate on our security and military service. That's why it appears to be a good solution for certain politicians. But I think this is not the real solution to prevent terrorist attacks and to enable and to think of the way to reintroduce integration in France. I think that we should have and think of other solutions.
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time and your analysis. Sébastien Jakubowski joining us there from Lille.